Good morning. You know, when they give you an 8 o'clock session in Vegas, you have to really deliver, right? Because you all have made the investment. So thank you all for being here bright and early. I know some people made the nightclubs. I think Chain Smokers was visited by at least a few people. My name's Matthew Schneider. I lead Google Public Sector's U.S. state, local, and education business. And I'm thrilled to be here today as we talk about building the intelligent AI-centric campus of the future in building that today. We have some amazing experts who are going to join me on stage shortly, and we're going to dive deep into exactly how we are leading this transition. But first, I want to take a couple minutes to talk about the amazing transformation we've been on. Think about it. 3 years ago, with the public launch of AI, we had campuses talking about, how do I prevent this from happening on my campus? We literally were talking about blocking access to AI technologies. We moved from blocking AI to, how do I add AI into my workflows? How do I add this on top and sprinkle it in so that I can be an AI campus? To now truly, how are we building the campus of tomorrow with AI? From full stack to silicone to software, we have leaders that are talking about the journeys they're taking their campus on across the board. And it's a complicated environment inside of our campuses today. From students, and how do we prepare them for the workforce that they're going to be entering? How do we transform the way we help our educators introduce this technology into the day-to-day activities of what they're doing? How do we transform the business of our campus, from everything from recruiting to donor outreach, from the operations and the decisions we're going to make? And most exciting for me is, how do we advance the science, the time to discovery, the capabilities of our researchers as we look across this? And our panelist today is going to walk us through each of their journeys as they think about this across the board. 2026 by many has been referred to as the year of ROI for AI, or the year of the agents. And in our first inaugural launch of our customers, we're seeing agents being put into action. We're seeing innovation happen across the board, and it's being delivered not just by our wonderful panelists who are going to be here with us today, but across all of our education institutions. We truly are delivering an era of American innovation as we redefine the educational structure of the future. We see partners like Old Dominion University that have launched the Monarch Sphere, which is an incubator to advance research from the student all the way to the researcher and out into the community in the environment, in the area that they live in. We've seen Stanford University attack the Stanford AI Playground, a secure and accessible platform for all of their researchers to go look at all the different models they need to access through Google to be able to make this happen. We're working with Covista, who's bringing the technology to the healthcare workers of tomorrow, transforming how they educate, but also preparing those students for the most advanced technology as they enter the healthcare workforce. We've seen Georgetown, at the intersection of education and society, talk about how we deliver AI responsibly to the students, to the history of the institutions, and transform the way they go forward. And we've seen Purdue University attack an initiative to deliver AI skills to every single student, making sure that they're an advanced AI education requirement for every student that graduates. Over 44,000 students at Purdue will do this, with Google being a marquee partner in that delivery. These are all powerful examples of AI in action. At Google, we are incredibly proud to deliver the front door to this AI, to the enterprise solutions that are going to be delivered with Gemini Enterprise, to get technology to every employee, every student, and every workflow that we look at across the board. Gemini Enterprise and Gemini Enterprise for Education is empowering our campuses to discover, to create, to share, and deliver agents like never before. And this is empowered through the Google AI stack. We can only accomplish this with an integrated, ground-up approach from the silicon all the way through the software, working in partnership with your research organizations to deliver models, to share the information, to attack this problem up and down and transform the future of your organizations together. So with this, I'm incredibly excited now to welcome up my panel. So please join me on stage. Dr. Stan Waddell from Carnegie Mellon University. Dr. Shadi Sandvik from the SUNY system, where I'm a proud graduate of. Matt Gunkel from UC Riverside, and Dave Driggers, CEO of Surascale. So join me in welcoming our panel. So good morning. We got coffee for most of you. So thank you for joining us. I don't think anyone made the concert last night, right? No one went out to Chainsmokers? No. Okay. So let's start with just some introductions, because each of you have such a unique position in your organizations. But let's think of, if you could share a little bit of your role, but also where technology serves your organization in the stack in terms of how you think of the modernization you're bringing to your institution. So Stan, I'd love to start with you.
Awesome. Well, first off, good morning, everyone. I'm Stan Waddell. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Carnegie Mellon University. And it's always great when my alma mater gets mentioned. So I'm a Monarch and Old Dominion alum. And that's absolutely phenomenal to hear that name first thing this morning. But Carnegie Mellon. Carnegie Mellon, as many of you likely know, is ostensibly the birthplace of artificial intelligence. We literally created the domain head first artificial intelligence program, and are the number, depending on the year and the rankings, number 1, 2, or 3 computer science program in the world. And along with our engineering domains and our College of Fine Arts are extremely influential in regards to our transformative impact on society and the world. With that comes a lot of demands. And so in regards to that technology stack, right now the big thing that's enabling discovery at rapid speed or quickening the time to research is access to advanced compute. And so, no sales pitch. I don't work for Google. I don't get anything for this. But we do have a partnership with Google that deploys 300 GPUs in Google Public Cloud, a heavily used resource. And we made that decision to go to the cloud for exactly that, to shorten the time to research. We thought we figured it would take us a year plus to get that number of GPUs, and then we had to figure out where we would put them, and I had nowhere to put them. And Google has been a great partner in this respect in allowing us to deploy those resources super quick with orchestration wrapped around it so that our scientists spend less time playing around with settings and trying to figure out governance and spools and pools and Slurm. I mean, we do use that, but they don't have to figure it out. It's there and ready for them to go.
Great. Shadi?
Thank you. I think I'll build on what you said. At SUNY system, just for those of you who do not know SUNY system, it's almost like take that and multiply it by many, many times. SUNY system has 64 campuses. We have 4 research university, which go all the way to PhD, and they do hardcore research, and there are fantastic research that are happening from whether it's on one end on neurodegenerative diseases to creating the best package for the AI chips. So, but also on the other end of it, there are like 30 community colleges and there are 20 comprehensive colleges. So we cover a whole range. You will hear me come back to this, but about 4 years ago, when everybody was talking about the CHIPS and Science Act, and I'll make this very quick, we were all thinking about this technology to kind of just expand it, and I come from that background. We need so many tens of thousands of students that are skilled in that semiconductor and semiconductor design, whether it's hardware, we need all of that. And everybody was just thinking about the student and the skills of that day. So that's like 5-6 years ago. And the AI and these two were kind of going in parallel. There were not really a lot of conversation between the two. And it dawned on us that we in the educational system, we are not in the business of educating students for today necessarily. We are really looking at like 5, 6, 7 years down the road. So we really need to be aware of where technology is going, and also for our researchers. And this is where it kind of got us really just, it was almost like a wake-up call to come together. And that's where our researchers were, basically the question was, who has access to the best compute today? And it wasn't universities, for sure. So we needed infrastructure. We needed to make sure that we were ready for that day to come. And that's really kind of got us going. And I would say in terms of which part of technology stack is the most important in the innovation engine, I wouldn't point to one thing, because it's not the one thing. We need the compute, we need the analytics, we need all of that, but all of it come together. And how can we stick to our mission? So we are purposeful about how we are doing it, if it is accelerating discovery, that we do that. But also, how are we going to scale it? For us, it's not that 5 researchers that they require this high access to high compute, but it's just, we need to scale it and how we are going to do that. And that's where innovation is going to happen, whether it's at the technology front or teaching and learning.
Excellent. Matt, would you mind sharing a little bit about your role and where the technology is?
Yeah, wonderful. So I'm Matt Gunkel, CIO at the University of California, Riverside. I think, so yes, right? Like yes and to both your answers. I think for myself, when I look at this and I look at some of the shifts, it's an interesting life cycle. We're moving, years ago we had edge. We're here talking about cloud frequently. We're seeing a combination, I think, of now hybrid, right? And I think for myself, when I look at sort of what layer of the tech stack, it's actually really less about the technology. I'm seeing an immersion of a new kind of person, and it's a person that we're good at making, which are problem solvers. So we're looking for people that are actually now able to put together these pieces of technology, both on the edge and in the cloud, driving to scale, to your point, and really empowering new use cases at a speed we've never seen. And so that's what we're really trying to empower at UC Riverside. We're really trying to bring that both into our research community, but also then to our student population at large.
Right. And Dave, as CEO of Surascale, for those who aren't familiar with Surascale, can you talk about where your organization and the concept of the NeoCloud fits in with this for the team? Sure.
So we're definitely embracing, and we're part of that hybrid environment where we fit in between on-prem and hyperscaler. And within the public sector, this is a really important place because a lot of you guys have very different funding requirements. A lot of your funding requires you to own, you have a mixture of CapEx and OpEx as well as human. And that doesn't always fit traditional cloud where everything is OpEx. We allow and encourage universities to look at us as an extension of their on-prem. This is moving so fast, it's rare that even a research university has a data center that can handle these new, big, powerful machines to enable the AI. But this is hitting every university. Non-traditional research is going to have to embrace AI for every student. Still takes a lot of hardware. We're there to help both design, because we're HPC specialists, design and build these types of things in tandem with the university to create that public-private hybrid scenario that can enable the on-prem plus the high-performance neo-cloud or off-prem, and then connect into the hyperscaler where they make the most, where it's most logical.
Great, thank you. Stan, that's a great kind of transition back to Carnegie Mellon, and CMU has built a research hub. You talked about the need to quickly scale that and respond to that. Can you talk a little bit about how that research hub serves the university? And then, you talked a little bit about the role, but I'd love you to expand on where Google fits into that for you all from the hyperscale perspective there.
Yeah, sure. Great question. What I would offer is, that need and vision were largely driven by need. Of course, there's some advanced strategy baked into that, but it really all boiled down to need. I was in my office, actually about a year and a half ago now, I guess at this point, and I get a call from the president saying, hey, Stan, I've got a bunch of faculty members here in my office, and they've just camped out, and they're saying they want access to GPUs, and they want the university to provide them centrally. And he was like, and he's a computer scientist himself. He is a phenomenal technology brain himself, but he was like, I want you to talk to them. I want you to see what their aims are. I want you to see what the value is to Carnegie Mellon, and then I want you to come back to me and give me a pitch on whether or not we move forward with something significant for them. And so I had a conversation with these folks, and the four of them are basically the professors that have formed the Flame Center at Carnegie Mellon, which is a large language model research center at Carnegie Mellon. Wholly faculty, self-selected and organized, which is a phenomenal thing in and of itself. And they had ties into our research cloud lab, our autonomous cloud lab. The AI Foundry spawns from them. And what I was learning from them was that as these technologies become more prevalent and as they become more capable, the time to research is becoming shorter for everyone, including industry. And that if higher ed is going to keep up in this spiral or in this dance, we have to have access to resources ourselves. And we cannot necessarily match what a Google or other major player can do with their foundational models, but we can do things with local access and with cloud resources that folks like Google can provide to cut our time to market or time to research. And I think it is not lost on anybody in this room, but I will say it. We are in this dance of discovery and innovation, where innovation is coming faster and faster and faster. And Carnegie Mellon has decided that we've got to enable a cycle of innovation in order to stay relevant. It's an existential question. And we're making these resources available both in the cloud and on-prem so that we can deliver the resources that our faculty need to keep us relevant and to continue to allow us to have the transformative impact on society that is our mission.
Thank you. Shadi, we talk about what a journey it is for most campuses to do it. You have to do it across 64, right? From R1s to community colleges, thousands of researchers and students working in that. We talked about the journey at the beginning of stopping AI 3 years ago to embracing it. And so you've taken this on, across the system as an economic driver for the system in all aspects of it. But can you talk us a little bit about the ambitious program that you've taken on across the SUNY system, the guardrails you had to put in place, because it is different addressing a system approach to this, and a little bit about the factors that have allowed you to scale so quickly?
Yeah, I would love to tell this story because it is really just quite an amazing story, in my opinion. I know that we have these lights shining in my eyes, so I can't see, but just raise your hand if you are academic or you're connected to an academic institution. Okay, fantastic. And I'm sure that we have a bunch of faculty sitting in the audience. I tell you, I'm a long-time faculty myself. When we thought about how are we going to do this? And I told you the story of 6 years ago what happened. So what we decided to do is that we are a very mission-oriented institution. We have a specific purpose in life in that institution. But how are we going to build something? There was a lot of really anxiety about AI when we started, but we brought faculty together. So those of you who are faculty or in academic institution, you know that you can't do anything that faculty don't want to do. I mean, these are like free agents. At the end of the day, they'll just do whatever it is that they want to do. And they want power, they wanted access to compute, they wanted all of that. And 3-4 years ago, we were in a different world than we are today. So we brought together a large number of faculty from across our institution, mostly from our research universities. And just quickly, we have 4 research universities at Stony Brook, Buffalo, Binghamton, and Albany. We have upstate and downstate medical university that they have their own hospitals. So it was very important to kind of bring these people together and our educators. And we put together an AI strategy. That's like, now goes back a couple of years ago. And a couple of things came out of that, a few recommendations, but two that were really important. They were infrastructure and systems of engagement. And that systems of engagement is that how do we bring people together to make sure that we can scale up? So out of that came the idea of SUNY AI platform. And I will explain that just a little bit because that's really the beauty of this whole story. The SUNY AI platform is where we also, on our research campuses, we have a lot of on-prem, so that's going to happen. These universities are going to continue, and the state of New York has been extremely committed to that, to put real money to create, whether it's on-prem and on the cloud. So we created the SUNY AI platform, and the purpose of that was to create a platform that's safe, it's secure, and it is where we can create access, whether it's to high-intensity computational research for faculty that need it, and for that faculty that really just needs to come on and interact with the application to write their grant or to run some simple simulation. So I wanted to mention that we didn't do that alone. This partnership with Google, it has been, again, I don't work for Google, but this is a real partnership. This is not my experience, which is a wonderful experience, I feel. Our experience is that that's not a vendor-customer relationship. We came together to build this together. We have been, from day one, worked on the architecture, the use cases, and all of that, and now with eGen, and I know that my eGen colleagues are in the audience. And we didn't start, and here's the trick, we didn't start to boil the ocean with so many campuses. We started with onboarding 3 campuses or major research universities to help us with these use cases. So we tried, we went through together, we scaled it up, and now we are up to onboarding 9 of our doctoral campuses, and that's where the bulk of the $1.5 billion research expenditure of SUNY come from these campuses. And also just building it as we go. And then we create that governance and putting the guardrails was number one and from day one. And as part of that was this balancing between creating access, which is very important to us in that scale-up, and the security that we were creating. So we did not bring in, so I say, protected data. We started with public and quasi-public data, and to be able to kind of scale it up. Otherwise, if you just tighten it from day one, you can't do that. So I'll stop there, but the story goes.
So I'd love to pull on that for the whole panel, but Dave, you had mentioned kind of funding models, and that's, most institutions, or whether it's grants coming in, public, private, wherever you are, funding's important. And we hear often the question of, well, how do I make sure that this investment is future-proof, right? We talked about the trains we've gone over 3 years. Such a radical concept for us with how quickly technology is moving here. But what are the things you're thinking about, for each of your institutions in terms of, and organizations, as you build now, so that it'll fit into a platform of the future as we continue to address rapid change? So Dave, as you're working with institutions, what are you doing to build into that long-term support? And everyone else on the panel, I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of future-proofing as much as that's possible with AI.
Well, a bunch of it. I mean, we're hearing tons and tons about sustainability, that AI is going to take everything away from everything else. So one of the keys that we try to really push is try to get as many organizations working together as possible. And therefore, we're not wasting this resource. These are very expensive servers. And what's an amazing thing that's just happened, really launched this year is the agentic aspect of this. Mm-hmm. The key with agentic, the key with co-scientists, one of your wonderful products, is these machines can be used much more easily 24/7 because you've got your own little research assistant. The same thing with getting those guardrails around the AIs is pointing that agent to the underutilized resources. So that, to me, that's the biggest aspect of sustainability, is using these resources 24/7 versus them turning off. One of our bigger research institutions we work with, AI2, we talked to them about, we need to have this service event. And do you want us to do it at Friday Friday night, they're like, oh, no, 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 no. Friday night, that's like the most important time not to do it. Well, how about the end of Monday night? No, you need to do it in the morning. So when our researchers when they know that resources back up, they're back working, because in the night and in the weekends, their agents are all using this product when they're asleep, so they don't know if something's been disengaged. So we really do push people to put organizations together and then leverage these, now agentic AI in particular, to really use those resources when they're underutilized. A big part of it is prioritizing your people who need to get work done right now, get them that access right now. The people who can have that work done later through batch operations, the key is really scheduling those types of activities. Same thing with leveraging a NeoCloud for those activities. Leveraging the hyperscaler for when I really need that burst workload. So put the workload where it really belongs.
Matt, as you think about that future proofing, but also the journey you've taken UC Riverside on in the time you've been there, how are you approaching that? And talk to us a little bit about what's changed as you're thinking of the vision of where you're going with UC Riverside, the role and the transition that IT has had as you transform the organization there.
Yeah, I mean, thanks, Matt. So at UCR, we've really been thinking about one, sort of the shape of our organization, the skills that are present in our teams, also the skills that are present in our student population. We're also really actively trying to think about ways in which we can begin to apply the agents really into our business. How can we leverage the data, the knowledge, the understanding that we have today? It's interesting. I was actually, I'll say I was at another conference this week. And what really struck me there was how much of the process we all understand incredibly well, and the way in which the agents now can resurface that effectively, and how much closer we're going to have to all become in order to effectively put that together. So when you look at a tool like Gemini Enterprise and you look at the kind of agentic experiences that we want to build and craft, and a lot of the systems that we use today, we're going to rebuild a fair amount of that work and that process, not because those systems weren't good, but because we want a lot more fluidity and agility, and we want to be able to leverage our data and information in ways that is much more empowering. And that's now possible. That's what I'm like really excited about, because we're starting to build those scenarios now, and I think a lot of the tooling that we saw here this week are going to be how we're going to manage it and how we're going to scale it in a really sort of new and interesting way. It's interesting how we saw sort of a nice product alignment across the roadmap this week, but there's some changes there, I think, that sort of suggest additional trajectory and directions for how we're continuing to see the landscape around AI shift and how we're going to be able to effectively use those agents at depth.
A little bit different than we talked in preparation. How have you kept your team up to speed on this, right? How have you invested back in them to make sure they're able to take advantage of these elements and these continuous changing patterns, Matt?
Yeah, so I mean, one is just lots of training, and so whether that's training through Cloud Skills Boost, or whether that's coming here, whatever the right kind of training is, trying to get the training in more hands for more people. But we've also really built out some governance ideas around sort of how do we actually talk about this, and again, more on the data side. So how do we actually leverage and use our information more effectively? How do we manage it? How do we mature into different areas where we weren't mature and weren't sort of prepared to effectively leverage AI? And how do we continue to make pivots in those areas? Additionally, bringing more students into our workforce, right? So working and leveraging and using students, they're growing up with this. They're thinking about new ideas, new ways to use it. That pushes on our thinking. And how can we actually be using the emerging thinking or the problem solving where they're tackling things today and bring that directly into our organization to help us go, oh, okay, that's a way to do that. We hadn't thought of that, hadn't considered it, or hadn't put those things together. I also think it's interesting that we're seeing that as a true use case out of multiple disciplines. So this is shifting away from just computer science. We're seeing it in the arts. We're seeing people who have deep language understanding expanding, becoming incredibly valuable in this space.
Fantastic. Dave, we talked about the evolving role that universities to the hyperscalers, to the neo cloud or an intermediary party to serve inside of there. What do you see as the next wave of AI opportunity on the long journey Surascale's been on, from high performance compute to the neo cloud opportunity, but where do you see that next wave of AI going in partnership with the research universities, with the hyperscalers?
I think we saw lots of hands go up when it was asked of who's here from public sector, who's from universities, what have you. One of the things, if you haven't heard about GPAR, this is Google's program for bringing advanced research to everybody. You want to talk about democratizing advanced research. The GPAR program can turn any university into an R1 because it brings years and millions upon millions of dollars worth of previous research down to everybody. And it's the data, it's the models, and like I say, with the application of co-scientists, you're giving these guys a ton of very inexpensive research assistance. It's amazing what you guys are doing, because it can enable any university to become an R1 on a very inexpensive entry, not on R1's level of spend. So I think that's pretty incredible. That's a true democratizing of AI, democratizing of research. Normally these are kept in little enclaves. The data is kept in enclaves, the models are kept in enclaves. Here, you're giving everybody a leg up day one.
I'd like to pose it out to the whole panel. Matt, you talked a little bit about workforce, but we are looking across those different continuums, right? We're looking at the students, we're looking at the faculty in terms of how they address education of the future, and then the business process and the researcher itself, where we spend a lot of time. How are you looking at staying engaged with each of your organizations across those different pillars to make sure we're addressing the transition, preparing each of these environments, whether it's the student to enter the workforce of tomorrow, the educator to bring the new tools in, the staff that runs the universities? How are you all engaging those different constituents? We talked about researchers getting pulled in, but what about the other elements of the organizations that you're engaging with?
I can start. For us, it's conversations and access. We really do want to democratize access to the tools, and we want to make sure that that access is meaningful. As Matthew said, making sure that people have opportunities for education, whatever framework's going to work best for them. Some people that's hands-on, some people that's work sessions, some people that's exploring the theory. And we try to offer, education, conversational education across Carnegie Mellon. We've built things like an AI Center of Excellence that my team runs, but there's versions of that run out of the libraries or out of, the Eberly Center for Education, that are designed to bring people into the room, get them into the conversation, show them what the technology really is and can do, and then have them loose their creativity on it in their day-to-day work. And we are finding some really powerful stories arise where people are building workflows that started as inference workflows that are now moving into agentic workflows. And we're also starting to see that permeate its way through the science as well. So our AI automated cloud lab is designed to do exactly what David is saying. It's autonomous experimentation, because if you can explain it, and you have to be able to explain it to write a paper, an agent can do it. If it has the access to the tooling and the sensors and whatnot, it can do it. And they will work 24 hours a day other than our downtime. And so making sure people understand that and understand the power of that and then actually deploy it is huge.
Shadi?
Maybe I built on that because, research universities, that's what they should be doing, and leaning in and making sure that your high-power researchers, they have access to what they need to push on the next frontier. And that's what we are doing, whether it's on-prem or on the cloud, people are doing it. We have researchers that they are starting from AlphaFold, but they are pushing the envelope to do even more and make it even subject to different experimental conditions. That changes. You have proteins that are not solid necessarily. They change depending on the environment that they are doing it. So we are providing for them to do that, but we are also very conscious of our students, our faculty that are teaching. We have created, so we are going at it very holistically, providing for what research requires. Scaling up for us is very important. Democratizing is very important for us. We have created 2 specific departments, and I tell you, for my colleagues at universities, you know this. It's not every day that you can create a department from like zero. We have, in literally 1 year, we have created 2 departments in 2 research universities, departments of AI and society. And these are to make sure that we do approach AI in all its shapes with ethics, with impact to society, and it is for public good. That's very, very important to us, very mission and purposeful. We are also having at the teaching and learning, making sure that we have what we call them AI fellows. And these are folks on campuses making sure that they create these workshops and webinars and all these and do the hand-holding if needed to make sure that happens. We have also 400,000 students. How do you scale up access and education about AI? Our students, this generation, they're already living in AI. So it's not necessarily about that they don't know what this is. It's just making sure that all the approaches that we are helping them with the approaches that they are taking, and they are doing it in a safe and secure manner. So for us, is embed AI and learning AI in general education, so that every single student, regardless of the degree program that they are getting the education needed. We are very, it's concerning in some sense that some of the degree programs now, if we are not careful about how we are educating these students, honestly, 3-4 years down the road, they may not find a job. So that's a big concern, and that's something we are trying to make sure that we are ready for that and we are providing for that.
Matt, any thoughts to that?
Yeah, so I think as I sort of think about the problems, or as I've worked to understand how do we get people really using AI, we've talked a lot about research. And there's sort of this great group of researchers who, I'll call them, they're at the high end, right? They're the ones that are building LLMs. They understand a lot of the math. I'm sort of less worried about that group. Don't get me wrong. We're up here. We got to help them with high performance computing and other work that we got to plug them into. And how do we accelerate and scale that? But when I look at the sort of, I'll call it the rest of the university population, a lot of the remaining faculty who maybe aren't computer science or math or engineering, and how do we bring those people in? And so one of the things that's really become clear for me, I'll say in the last sort of 60 days, is how much natural language and process organization is key. And so we talk a lot about agents. So there's the new agent registry, there's this new agent thing. And so one of the things that I think everyone needs to take away is that IT is not gatekeeping your ability to build an agent. Your own ability to write it down is actually the barrier that you need to overcome. And so everyone's like, well, how do I build an agent? A text file, a bunch of notepad documents. You literally just write out your process. It's that straightforward. So when you look at the agent registry, I think Google's in the process of maybe adding skills in that direction as well as agents. But essentially, you're just talking about a collection of markdown files. It's human readable information, just like in a Word doc. And it's just about what is the thing that you want to do. You have to describe it at nuance, or you have to describe it at priority and detail and those kinds of things. But if you're not actively looking at how your population can be doing those things, that's where I'd start. Not with a piece of tech, not with a tool, not with a thing, but how do you actually go document it, get people to understand that this is now a practice in working together with other humans to write down what do you want to do effectively. Then you put it in an agent. right? And that's then when that agent is going to have power, and it's going to have scale, and it's going to work well for whatever it is you want to do. And that's how you can iterate fast and get started today.
So we're going to put ourselves way out in the future, right? 5 years, 10 years out, and we're going to look back at ourselves today. What are those foundational things that are being done today that are going to be so important to define the successful path of the future?
So one thing I want to make sure we got to tell everybody, you don't have to be a coder. We can all be a coder now. My wife's coding, just for fun. And this is what AI really enables. It enables everybody to be a coder, everybody to be able to be creative and build things and express themselves in different ways. I mean, it is amazing when you get into vibe coding, when you're not a software engineer, and you can create something like that. And if you can type it in or you can speak it in, you can alter it and change it. I mean, the code gets generated by itself. It's so much easier to do these types of things. And I mean, I have to tell my daughter, don't be afraid of this, because this is going to make your presentations better. This is going to help you speed up, even just creating music. It's amazing. It doesn't replace you. It's a tool. It helps you. And if we can, again, this democratization, part of it is making people not afraid of it, so that it's something that allows them to grow and grow fast. We need to embed that now, otherwise they're going to fall behind. It's a new way of us creating and speaking.
So, I mean, I love that. So I think in 10 years, the thing that I won't say fearful of, but the thing that I want to see us protect is the creation of new knowledge. A lot of what we're doing today is derivative knowledge from the collection of all humans, which is fantastic. But at the end of the day, I really want to see us understand, how do we protect and create new knowledge? And what does that look like? And I really hope that universities are at the center of that sort of thought.
I'll add that I hope that in 10 years we haven't lost a thread on why we exist as organizations. I think we need to leverage these technologies to make us better at our core missions: education, research, and transformative impact. There is no other segment of industry or industry that does what we do for the reasons why we do it. And we are an important part of the societal ecosystem. And if we get lost, and there's a chance that we get disrupted, right? In the next 10, 20 years, there's a chance we get disrupted and get lost. That would be a huge detriment to mankind. We need to figure out how to leverage these tools, and we need to become better at our missional imperatives, and we need to thrive and survive.
Maybe I'll end it. He pretty much stole it out of my mouth. So I will just repeat it in a different way. And I would say, sticking with the mission. As long as we are purposeful and we stick with the mission, that's what it's going to have us move forward. Technologies come and go, and the way that the technology is advancing, the next frontier, quantum. And kind of thinking about as technologies evolve and we all move forward with it, creating an AI initiative, that's great, but that's not really the end goal. Is that how do we go purposefully, and the people, the why we exist, our students thinking about how do we help them move forward. One thing that's extremely important to us as the largest public university of higher education, a SUNY campus is closed. It's within 30 miles of every New Yorker. So if we think about it that way, and the economic impact that we have in the lives of our students, our communities, and the research that we do, innovation that we do, and that's lifting people, that's our mission. So for us, is create and just make sure that we keep our researchers at the forefront and that they have what they need, but also our students, and again, I'll kind of go back to them. If we are not paying attention to them and what they need, then we've lost our mission.
Well, I don't think there's any better way to sum up what all of you do than focusing on the mission. So thank you for that. I also want to acknowledge SUNY, CMU, and UC Riverside that are all members of the Google AI Education Accelerator. So this is a program out there available. There's currently over 400 members to this program, so I want to thank each of you for participating in it. I want to encourage anyone who's in the audience who is not a member to be sure to join that. Last week, we were at the ASU GSV Summit, and we talked about several new initiatives that we are launching as Google. Gemini Enterprise for Education, and what we were bringing out to make that available, not just in the capabilities at the commercial level, but down to your researchers, your students, your faculty inside of that. So please take the time to sit down and understand how we're going about working to bring that to each and every one of you. We also are very focused on bridging the AI literacy gap, and we're really excited to work with ISTE on accelerating and making available for educators, over 6 million educators across the US, the Google AI for Education Accelerator program, to go out and make sure we're putting in the hands of educators the tools that they need to be able to be successful in the classroom. And as Dave mentioned, if you're not familiar with the Partnership for Accelerated Research, this is the foundational element to get each and every one of your institutions, fast science, incredibly aggressive pricing to these resources. The data sets from Google DeepMind, Weather Now, all of the capabilities that we are bringing out from Earth AI and the research that Google does to bring together for each of you. And obviously there's tremendous sessions still available here at Next. So I'd encourage all of you to go out and make sure you're digging into the Gemini Enterprise Agent Ready program or GEAR program. You're looking at the Google Skills capabilities that are available to each one of you. And please be sure to stop by our booth, join us as we dig into these topics, talk to your account teams, talk to the individuals who are there sharing these great learnings that they've had. So please join me in thanking the panel for getting up. Thank you to all of you for joining us early this morning.